Hello, my name is John Robinson. This is Samples to Symphonies. This is the first of a series of videos about l'allegro by George Frideric Handel. L'allegro is the short name for l'allegro, il penseroso et il moderato. It's a 2-hour-long secular oratorio or pastoral ode that Handel and his collaborators James Harris and Charles Jennens created from poems of John Milton written in the previous century. Originally there were just 2 Milton poems, l'allegro, the cheerful man, the active man, or perhaps we'd say today the extrovert, and il penseroso, the contemplative man, or the thoughtful man, or perhaps the introvert. So the poems are 2 contrasting allegorical dispositions, which sounds abstract, but they're full of beautiful vignettes of country and urban life, the English countryside, the sun, the stars, the moon. They're also invocations, calling on classical goddesses to help in being mirthful and carefree, or solemn and meditative. Handel, Harris and Jennens took these 2 poems and interleaved them, so there'd be musical variety between the lively and the thoughtful, as well as between male and female soloists and a full choir. Then Handel added a 3rd part with libretto by Jennens, supposed to portray the mean between the 2 polarities of l'allegro and il penseroso. This package of 48 songs was performed several times before Handel decided to ditch il moderato, and we're left with just the extrovert and the introvert, interleaved in a 2-part work. As with the Baroque in general and Handel in particular, the piece is full of word painting, of birds, bells, a hunt, the hum of cities, of laughter. In the early 19th century, William Blake created watercolours to illustrate the original Milton poems. Then, in 1988, the choreographer Mark Morris created a dance version where just 2 numbers from Il Moderato were retained and inserted, 1 in each half. Milton's poems L'Allegro and Il Penseroso were much admired in the 18th and 19th centuries, but no one would claim they're his greatest work. Similarly, no top 10 of Handel's work would include L'Allegro. Blake's watercolours are unmistakably by him, lots of typical Blake mystery and sensuality, but they too wouldn't be seen as his masterwork. But perhaps it's fair to say that L'Allegro, il penseroso et il moderato remains Mark Morris's greatest dance. In his 2019 memoir Out Loud, Morris says, "I am thankful that enough time has passed that it's no longer seen as my defining work, but it's the one with the coffee table book, with the PBS co-produced film. In terms of its visibility and critical response, it stands apart, at the top. The dances range from utter l'allegro exuberance and even silliness to the stillness of il penseroso wonder." Just as Handel exuberantly word paints in his music, so Morris uses mime, exaggeration, humour, and conveys the delights of both cheerfulness and contemplation. It's the loveliest piece of modern dance you're ever likely to see. It was Morris's version that persuaded me I need to do a series on l'allegro. Originally I just planned to bring out why I think the piece by Handel was an inspiration for Gustav Holst in the writing of Jupiter from the Planets, but there's much more to it than that. Milton's exploration of l'allegro and il penseroso is not just 2 dispositions, humours or personalities. It's about different ways we can choose to live our lives to find pleasure and contentment. And we can choose, an important theme in Milton. Blake's pictures show Milton mainly identified with il penseroso, but that's in line with evidence that he was more melancholic than carefree, but also show him dreaming the dreams of l'allegro, as of course he did. He invented them. His poems are invocations. They suggest an act of will. We can choose to live as sociable, carefree, and maybe a little superficial, just glancing at things, or choose to live more solitary, more thoughtful, and actually gaze at things. I think in terms of art, it's often the moments that catch you by surprise that can be most moving and meaningful. There are paired numbers in part 1 associating the lark with l'allegro and the nightingale with il penseroso. The second goes on a bit with lots of flute and soprano birdsong, but that gives Morris the chance to pack in lots of bird mimes. Part of this is flying. Women imitate the birds, men are the stage machinery, if you like, holding the birds aloft while walking backwards. Late in the piece, the stage machinery does its move again, but the birds are no longer there. It's a heartbreaking moment, not so much about the melancholic disposition, but about life and loss. The title of this video is The Introvert, because while I am disposed towards introversion, in immersing myself in the music, in reading around Milton, Handel, Blake and Morris and trying to absorb, to contemplate, I've become deeply impressed with the relevance of l'allegro to life today. That's why I want to share a series of videos about it. So this is the introduction. I'm going to be coming back to explore more deeply the contributions of all four geniuses to expressing and enjoying the pleasures of sociability and solitude. I originally planned to create everything at once because, let's face it, l'allegro is a niche subject, but it's a big project. And October 2025 is looming, and that's a deadline for me. I want to celebrate on this channel the 200th anniversary of the birth of Johann Strauss the Younger on the 25th of October. I have a project on the Viennese lilt to share in a couple of videos. So they'll come next, and the next l'allegro video will follow. And then there'll be another, and eventually we'll get to why Jupiter is the way it is because of l'allegro.